The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. This is a famous saying from Mark Twain, and you're obviously born because you're watching this, so let's help you find out why. Why were you born? What's your purpose? So here are 3 simple steps from the science of psychotherapy that can help you discover your purpose and step into it. Because when you live a life of purpose, the research shows that there are 2 benefits that I guarantee you want. First, a study published in the journal Psychological Science by Hill and colleagues shows that people with a strong sense of purpose actually live longer. They live longer lives. And second, a study published in the Journal of Counseling Psychology by Steger and colleagues found that people who live with a sense of purpose have more life satisfaction. In other words, they enjoy their lives more than people who don't live with a sense of purpose. These 2 studies taken together mean that if you live a life of purpose, you're more likely to live longer and you're more likely to enjoy that long life. Now, just getting one of those 2 benefits would probably be enough for me, but if you pay attention to this video and if you follow these 3 simple steps, you'll get both. So here are the 3 simple steps that you can use based on the science of psychotherapy and the practical work that I do in my capacity as a clinical psychologist. Step 1 involves understanding the definition of purpose. In the psychological science, purpose is defined as a particular kind of long-term goal that is meaningful to the self and that gives the person the intention to accomplish something of consequence that goes beyond the self and that impacts the world in some way. Said more simply, purpose is the mixture of going within the self to discover what one wants to do that goes beyond the self. There has to be personally meaningful ambition and also actual action that's taken to accomplish that in the world. Hence, the person who is just ambitious and just has these dreams and they think about what they want to do, but they don't take action, is not living a purposeful life. And on the other side, the person who is engaged with the world and is constantly taking action, but not on the things that are personally meaningful to them, are also not living a purpose-driven life. You need both components. For example, the person who finds it personally meaningful to study biology because they're so fascinated about the human body and what we're capable of, but then also uses that fascination and that knowledge to become a medical doctor who works for Doctors Without Borders, for example. Or the person who enjoys music and they find it personally meaningful and it's part of their strength and passion to play music, but then they use that to become a teacher who inspires others in the world to go beyond their own musical talents. So in those examples, the person has glued their personal meaning, strengths and talents and interests to some sort of public cause or public problem that they want to help solve. Frederick Buechner put it this way. He said that purpose is the place where your deep gladness meets the world's needs. So here's the actionable step you need to take here. You need to get a piece of paper, draw a line down the center, and then on the left, you're going to write down all your interests, your strengths, your passions, your talents, your ambitions. You're going to write all of that down on the left side. And then on the right side, you're going to write down some public problems that those personal strengths, talents, interests could help solve. On the right, you're going to write down all the things that are going on in the world, all the bad things, all the problems, all the struggles that you think what's personally meaningful to you on the left can actually help solve on the right. So do that now and we'll move on to step 2. Now, the first step was a bit more of a rational way to think about what your purpose is. It's understanding the analytical definition of purpose, and it's trying to live true to that definition by applying it to your own life and by using some cognitive problem solving. But purpose goes beyond just the cognitive. Purpose goes beyond the analytical. Purpose is actually also about the emotion that's felt. People who live a purpose-driven life are very emotionally connected to what they're doing. So purpose has this emotional component that you need to connect to. Purpose is also about what actually drives you, and what drives us is oftentimes emotion, not logic. And so the second step is to help you connect to the emotion behind that feeling of purpose. And one way to connect to that emotion of purpose is to realize that we have limited time here. We have limited time on this planet, and so we can use that fact, the fact that we have limited time, to make us shudder in our boots, or we can use it to really inject some meaningfulness into our lives, to realize that what we do with the time we have actually matters. And one way to enter the doorway of those emotions is to follow what Pericles said. Pericles once said that what we leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what's woven into the lives of others. But in this actionable step for step 2, we're actually going to use what you want engraved in your tombstone as a way to think about the impact you want to have in the lives of others. So here's your action step. And this is a bit morbid, it's a bit grim, it's a bit dark, but I think it gets you a bit more in touch with the reality of the situation. So on a piece of paper, you're going to draw a tombstone-like structure. So something with a bit of a rounded dome. And if this is not too much for you, you can write your name on it. If this feels a bit too emotionally engaging, you're welcome to step away from this step and jump to step 3. But if you'd like to do this, if you would like to think about what you want your life to mean, get out a piece of paper, draw a tomb-like structure, and then I want you to write your full name on it. And then below the tomb, I want you to write a person who, ... Okay, so a person who, ... with your full name on the tombstone. And then next to a person who, I want you to fill out that sentence with what you would like to be known for. What is your life going to mean? When you're not here anymore, what would you like your life to have meant to the people who are still around? What do you want people to say about you when you're no longer here? This is what this exercise is all about. And it's a lot more emotionally engaging than just thinking about how to match your talents and interests to some sort of problem in the world. It's a lot more personally meaningful and engaging. So look at that piece of paper now, and I want you to think about that question and notice what comes to mind. Don't overthink this. Just notice what comes out automatically. Do you want it to say a person who was compassionate, a person who made a difference in the world, a person who always took care of those around them, a person who was always honest, a person who was brave and courageous, a person who was a role model for younger people, a person who took care of the orphans of the world? What do you want that tombstone to say? Notice what's coming to mind even as you look at the piece of paper, and meditate on that a bit, and then I'd like you to write that down. Don't write too much. Try to keep it to 1 or 2 things. And then once you have that down, that is going to be the core of your purpose. That is going to be what's most emotionally engaging. Because as Nelson Henderson once said, the true meaning of life is to plant trees in whose shade you do not expect to sit. It's about creating something that lasts beyond us, because once we're gone, all that's left is our legacy. It's what people say about us and how people remember us. Now let's move on to step 3, which is all about addressing the cognitive, emotional, and behavioral blocks to engaging in a purpose-driven life. Because as you start to engage in this purpose-driven life, as you start to try to pursue that space where your personal talents and strengths meet a world's problem, as you start to try to become the kind of person that you want to be, as related to the tombstone exercise, you're going to notice that things get in the way. And what's helpful to notice are the 3 internal ways that you block yourself. How does your own thinking, how does your own emotions, how does your own behavior block you? And this is really the core of my work as a psychotherapist. This is my bread and butter, because psychology is defined as the scientific study of mind and behavior. Mind is basically your thinking and your emotions, and then behavior is your behavior. So those taken together, the scientific study of mind and behavior is all about thinking, emotions, and your behavior. In other words, this is what I specialize in. When someone comes to me and they're in the room with me, I only have access to that person. I can't directly change any aspect of their lives. And so the success of the therapy is dependent on my ability to help them transform their own mind and own behavior. And this is really important if you're trying to live a purpose-driven life, because blocks are going to come up from you. Forget the external blocks. You're going to block yourself in many ways. In terms of your thinking, that's going to block you. Some emotions that might come up that will block you, and your behaviors that might block you. So the third step here to living a purpose-driven life is developing your ability to deal with those blocks as they arise. So let's talk about the first aspect that might block you, which is the thoughts that might come up. Because as you try to live a purpose-driven life, there are going to be thoughts that come up spontaneously in your mind. Things like, I can't do this. Things like, I don't have the skills, or things like, I'm not good enough to take on this journey of purpose. And these are beliefs that have to be challenged. These are beliefs that you can't let hold you back, because that's what the mind does. The mind is constantly trying to keep us safe. It's trying to keep us away from threat. And if we follow a purpose-driven life, we're inevitably going to encounter challenge. Living a purpose-driven life is not necessarily to live an easy life. And the mind is sort of designed to take the easy route And so thoughts and beliefs are going to come up that try to steer you toward the easier route, the route of comfort, the route of pleasure. And a purpose-driven life goes beyond that. But to go beyond that, you have to allow yourself to not be fooled by your mind's thinking, all the rationalizing that your mind is doing as to why you shouldn't follow that purpose-driven path, such as things like, you're not good enough, you can't possibly do that in your lifetime, you're not the right person for the job, you've always been a failure, or you don't have the resources to do this. All these kinds of thoughts might block you. Now, you need to notice if they're realistic, because you have to be realistic here. But if you notice that they're irrational, or if you notice that they're all just trying to steer you away from your mission, then you need to free yourself from your mind. And one way to do that is to use a technique called cognitive defusion, which is basically allowing yourself not to be fused with your thoughts. Cognitive is a fancy German word for thinking, and defusion means unfusing yourself from your thinking so that you're not flowing downstream with it. You're able to observe your thoughts and then act contrary to them. For example, if I told you, have the thought right now that you can't raise your right arm. So literally in your mind think, I can't raise my right arm. I want you to think that in your mind. So just loop that thought, I can't raise my right arm. I can't raise my right arm. And now I'd like you to literally raise your right arm as you're having that thought. So lift your right arm now, but keep thinking it. I can't raise my right arm. With it up. Now notice what happened. There was a disconnect between your thinking and your behavior. You were able to behave in the way you wanted to, despite what you were thinking. And you need to cultivate that ability as you go forward. Cultivate the ability to behave contrary to your thoughts, because your thoughts aren't always helpful. So you need to always be able to choose the behaviors that are value-driven and purpose-driven, despite whatever's going on in your head. You know, oftentimes people say, don't believe everything you hear, but they never say, don't believe everything you think. I think you shouldn't believe everything you think, because not everything you think is even external objective truth. We have a specific mind that rambles and tries to keep us safe. So learn how to act on your purpose, despite the thoughts in your mind. Now, the second block that's going to try to get in the way is your emotions. Because as we try to live a purpose-driven life, things like fear are going to come up. What if things go wrong? What if I don't make it? Fear, anxiety, perhaps even a bit of lack of motivation. If you feel down about yourself, if you feel you're not capable, you might not be motivated to pursue your purpose. And so these blocks are going to inevitably come up in your life. And you need to be able to feel those emotions and accept that those emotions are there while still moving in your desired direction. Like in the same way that you had to have thoughts while being able to move forward, you also need to accept that you're going to have difficult emotions on this journey. Oftentimes when people feel these difficult emotions, they stop pursuing their purpose. They say, ooh, I'm a bit afraid, so I shouldn't do it. Or they say, I don't feel motivated to do this, so I'm not going to do it. But you don't need to feel motivated. You don't need to not feel afraid. You don't need to feel anything specific, or you don't need to get rid of any specific emotion to still be able to engage in your behavior. And what's helpful here is sometimes to identify the emotions that are coming up, and then to imagine that you're in a car and you're in the driver's seat, and that you're taking those emotions with you. As you drive forward, you're saying, okay, anxiety is in the car, they're going to be in the passenger seat, and fear is in the back seat, and lack of motivation is in the back seat, and I'm going to drive toward my destination, even with these feelings in the car and all the things that they're blabbering on about. Just in the same way, if you were driving toward a destination with a kid who was constantly telling you that they want to stop, or they want to see this or that, or whatever else, you wouldn't just listen to the kid every time the kid wanted to stop the car. Otherwise, you'd never get to your destination. So I want you to think about it in the same way. You're driving toward your destination. You're in the driver's seat, and you're willing to take these emotions with you because of how purposeful it is, the thing that you're doing. As Muji says, feelings are just visitors. Let them come and go. Now, the final block to living a purpose-driven life will be your actual behavior. It will be your ability to form good habits, your ability to be productive, your ability to take action, the degree to which the behaviors you engage in on a daily basis are helpful or not. Because behavior is really where the rubber meets the road. Behavior is the vehicle that gets you toward that purpose-driven life. It's not your thinking and your emotions. Your thinking and your emotions are going on internally, but where you make contact with the external reality and where you make a difference in the world is through what you do with your hands and feet. It's through your actual behavior. The stuff that people can see if a documentary crew is following you around and they're watching what you're doing, the stuff that they can see is your behavior. It's your overt actual behavior that makes the difference in the world. So if you're not good at this already, learn how to break bad habits. Learn how to build good ones. Learn how to notice when your behavior is harmful versus helpful. These are all behavioral skills that you can get better at, that you can learn. You can develop your willpower. These are skills that can all be developed. And they're important to do that when you notice that your behavior is becoming an obstacle to living a purpose-driven life. As Peter Marshall says, small deeds done are better than big deeds that are planned. And Zig Ziglar put it another way. He said that you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Now, if you found this video useful, I want to urge you to consider an extra tool from therapy that could be very helpful for you. It's called Life Review. It basically involves looking at your life and all the memories throughout your life and thinking about what the common theme is there. It's a surefire way to get to your purpose rather than speculating about what you think your purpose should be. So if you'd like to learn how to do a life review, to delve into the memories and themes that have underlined your life from birth until where you are right now, then you can find that in the video description. You'll find a link there. If you click that, you'll be taken to a free video training that will help you do a life review step by step. I'll guide you through that process. If you're not going to do that, I hope this video was of value to you, and good luck with your purpose.